3:17 a.m. Moscow. A specialized Ukrainian unit was quietly deploying FPV drones from a nondescript delivery van near the Moscow Ring Road when a Russian Rosgvardiya patrol suddenly flashed their searchlights on the vehicle. The team has exactly 3 minutes to launch their drones into the Komsomolskaya ventilation shafts and escape before they are neutralized by armored Russian security forces closing in on their position. While the Kremlin is busy aiding the Iranian regime with military hardware and jamming gear to stop Tehran's mass protests, they've left the heart of Moscow completely vulnerable. Ukraine is aiming for the lifeline of the city, the metro system that transports 9 million people every single day. The weapons are modified FPV drones equipped with terminal AI guidance. These machines don't rely on GPS or radio signals that Russia's legendary jammers can block. They use machine vision to recognize the rusted pipes and concrete tunnels of the underground grid. On the operator's screen, the targets are 12 critical electrical substations. If the drones hit, the entire 250-mile network goes into a cascade failure, trapping millions in a freezing pitch-black nightmare. If you were the commander of this unit, would you aim for the massive central hubs or the high-voltage peripheral feeders to cause the most chaos? Let me know your strategy in the comments below. The clock is at 180 seconds. The lights are about to go out. 3:30 a.m. outside the Moscow Ring Road. Under the cover of a blinding snowstorm, the rear doors of the Gazelle van swing open. 4 FPV drones, their frames modified with high-capacity thermite payloads, lift off silently into the freezing night. They don't climb toward the sky, they dive toward the ground. The team has identified a series of rusted, neglected ventilation shafts from the 1950s, the forgotten capillaries of the Moscow metro system. As the drones enter the shaft, they immediately lose GPS contact, but they don't need it. Their onboard terminal AI has already mapped every inch of this concrete labyrinth. Using machine vision, the drones navigate by recognizing the specific patterns of rusted iron, brickwork, and cable bundles. They are flying just 10 feet below the surface, skimming through the darkness at 40 miles per hour, staying completely invisible to the high-power S-400 and Pantsir radars scanning the skies above. Inside the command van, the operator is white-knuckled, his breath visible in the -4 degrees Fahrenheit air. He's watching a grainy infrared feed as the drone weaves through a forest of high-voltage conduits. Suddenly, a massive corroded iron mesh appears in the flight path, a barrier that wasn't on the original 3D blueprints. The drone's wing clips a rusted strut, sending a shower of sparks through the dark. For a heartbeat, the feed stutters. If the drone crashes now, the mission is over. But the AI compensates in milliseconds, detecting a narrow gap in an adjacent drainage pipe and rerouting the unit through a 6-inch wide opening. They are back on track, sliding deeper into the throat of the city. The drones are now in the pipes, and they are heading straight for the electrical heart of the machine. The Russians are looking at the clouds, but the danger is already underneath their feet. 03:42 a.m. The radar array on a newly built Pantsir SM tower near the Mayakovskaya station suddenly pulses with a high-priority alert. Inside the command cabin, the Russian operator stares at a signature with a radar cross-section smaller than a sparrow, moving at a steady 40 miles per hour. It's too fast for a bird and too low for a plane. The Pantsir turret swivels with mechanical fury, its computer attempting to calculate an intercept. It launches a salvo of 57 E-6 mini missiles, the drone killers. But as the missiles streak toward the target, they don't find a hit. Instead, they slam into the heavy stone pavement of the city street. The FPV drones are already 10 feet beneath the surface, protected by a massive layer of reinforced Soviet concrete. The sky shield is effectively blind to an underground intruder. Inside the Kremlin, the Moscow Air Defense Command triggers Protocol Deep Shield. This is no longer a localized threat, it is a full-scale security breach. Rapid response units of the Rosgvardiya and Metro Spetsnaz are scrambled. Armored Tiger vehicles roar onto the silent Moscow streets, their powerful searchlights cutting through the -4 degrees Fahrenheit mist as they hunt for the Trojan truck near the MKAD. Underneath the Mayakovskaya station, the hunt becomes a physical one. A Rosgvardiya squad, equipped with thermal scopes and shotguns, storms the emergency stairwell. The air in the tunnels is thick with the smell of damp earth and old grease. They hear the high-pitched, angry buzz of an FPV drone echoing through the pipes. A blast of birdshot shreds the lead FPV drone. Its lithium battery ignites instantly, causing a brilliant thermite flare that illuminates the tunnel in a hellish orange light. In the command van, the Ukrainian operator watches his primary screen go to static. He doesn't panic. He simply shifts his focus to the remaining swarm. The fight for the Moscow grid has just moved from the sky to the dark, and the Russian security forces are realizing they aren't hunting a machine. They are hunting a virus that is already inside the system. 03:46 a.m. The tactical battle moves into the dirty zone. The cramped, unmapped network of sewage pipes and electrical conduits 10 feet beneath the main metro floor. Drone 2, sensing the Rosgvardiya's newly installed iron grates blocking the main vents, executes a shadow reroute. It dives into a narrow drainage pipe, its AI struggling to maintain orientation in the absolute darkness. The Russian Spetsnaz, now deployed inside the tunnels, aren't relying on their eyes. They are using high-end FLIR thermal cameras to scan the concrete. They detect a moving heat signature, the drone's electric motors pulsing through the floorboards. A hail of AK-12 fire chews through the concrete, sending a blizzard of stone fragments and dust into the air. The drone's airframe is battered by the impacts, its signal beginning to stutter. Because there are no radio waves in these deep concrete bunkers, the drones are acting as their own mobile signal towers. Drone 3 hovers near a ventilation opening, acting as a bridge node to relay the AI's data stream to Drone 2, which is now sliding toward the Thermite substation. The Russian jammers are screaming at full power, but the drones are so close to each other that the signal manages to punch through the noise. Realizing they are losing the underground chess match, the Russian Pantsir SM commander on the surface orders a desperate move, a mini-missile barrage directly into the ventilation shafts. 1257 E-6 missiles scream into the iron openings, detonating deep inside the shafts. They aren't trying to hit the drones, they are using the overpressure wave to crush them. The massive shockwave ripples through the pipes like a high-velocity wind, tossing Drone 2 against a steel conduit. The high-definition camera lens is shattered, and its primary thermite payload is crushed. On the operator's monitor, the feed goes to gray. Drone 4, the smallest and most agile of the swarm, uses the smoke and chaos of the missile impacts as cover. It slips through a 6-inch drainage gap, bypassing the Spetsnaz patrol and entering the primary relay room. The Russians have the Tiger vehicles and the elite soldiers, but Ukraine has a virus that is now only 50 feet from the target. The cascade is about to begin. 03:48 a.m. The electronic warfare environment inside the Moscow metro has reached a fever pitch. The Russian Krasika, 4 jammers on the surface, are pumping out so much broadband interference that even the reinforced concrete can't block it all. The lead FPV drone, just 100 feet from the Thermite substation, begins to wobble violently. Its telemetry feed turns into a kaleidoscope of digital noise. The Russian jammers are hitting the specific frequency used for the AI's local mesh network sync. For a terrifying 12 seconds, the drone loses its sense of up and down, nearly slamming into a high-voltage transformer. But this is where the terminal AI earns its keep. Finding the signal blocked, the drone's silicon brain stops looking for a link and switches to full autonomous logic. It uses its onboard 3D map to predict where the signal should be clearer. It executes a pre-programmed reroute, diving into a lead-lined utility crawl space that acts as a natural Faraday cage, blocking out the Russian jamming. In 12 seconds, the drone stabilizes. The virus is back online. Inside the Russian command bunker, the officers realize the primary grid is under attack. Activate the backup generators for the circle line. Seal the primary bus bars. They command. Massive diesel generators in the depths of the metro rumble to life, designed to keep the trains moving even if the main Moscow grid fails. To a standard attacker, this would be a mission killer. The primary strike would only cause a momentary flicker. But the Ukrainian FPV drones aren't just looking for the power, they are looking for the relay logic. Drone 3, hovering near the ceiling, uses its thermal camera to identify the specific heat signature of the backup generator's synchronization relay, the brain that tells the metro when to switch from city power to backup power. It's a tiny target, no larger than a shoebox, but it is the single point of failure for the entire redundancy system. The operator, watching through the daisy chain mesh of the other drones, executes a precision dive. The FPV drone slams into the relay rack and detonates its thermite payload. This isn't a blast that levels the room, it's a 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit chemical fire that melts the copper and silicon into a glowing puddle of slag. The result is a cascade failure. Without the relay to manage the transition, the massive surge of electricity from the backup generators has nowhere to go. It slams back into the primary grid, creating an electrical hammer blow that begins to fry transformers miles away. On the Russian monitors, a map of the Moscow metro starts to turn black, station by station. The Russian Spetsnaz are now in the room, their flashlights cutting through the smoke. They are firing wildly, but they are fighting a ghost. The ace in the hole is the AI's ability to daisy-chain the remaining drones. Even as the Russians destroy one drone, the others instantly reorganize their communication mesh to fill the gap. The Russian commander stares at his failing grid in a state of absolute shock. He realized too late that this wasn't a bombing raid, it was a deep logic attack. The lights in the Teatralnaya station flicker and die. The hum of the ventilation fan stops. The Spetsnaz are left in a pitch-black tomb, their high-tech detectors useless against a virus that has already finished its job. The operator near Kiev whispers, "Cascade initiated. Moscow is going dark." 43 seconds to the total blackout of the circle line. The Russians are out of moves. 3:49 a.m. The last remaining FPV drone, a battered 15-pound survivor, screams through the Teatralnaya substation's main relay room at 45 miles per hour. The chemical fire melts through the primary copper bus bars in less than a second, creating a massive electrical arc that bridges the gap between the city's high-voltage grid and the metro's sensitive control electronics. The result is a cascade blackout. The surge of electricity, millions of joules of unregulated energy, ripples through the system like a tidal wave. One substation fails, then two, then six. The circle line stops dead. The Sokolnicheskaya line follows seconds later. In the blink of an eye, the heart of Moscow's infrastructure flatlines. The strategic fallout for the Kremlin is devastating. Putin spent months plotting with Iran to black out Kyiv, using Shahed drones to freeze Ukrainian civilians. But Ukraine just proved they don't need a multi-billion-dollar air force to return the favor. They used a Trojan truck, a few $1,000 drones, and the audacity to strike where the Russian sky shield was blind. The lesson of the Ghost Mole mission is clear. In modern asymmetric warfare, a billion-dollar fortress is only as strong as its neglected sewer vents. Moscow is a superpower on paper, but Ukraine just proved it's a basement in reality. If you enjoyed this deep dive into how a few moles and a brilliant tactical plan checkmated a superpower's capital, make sure to destroy that like button and share this video. It helps the algorithm more than a Russian jammer helps a substation. Subscribe for more deep dives into the missions that are rewriting the history of war.